AEW and New Japan once again united for the Forbidden Door, the annual interpromotional pay-per-view live from the UBS Arena in New York, headlined by the AEW World Championship bout pitting Swerve Strickland against Will Ospreay. The show featured a handful of dream matches and high-stake matches, and there was a lot on the card, so I'm going to cut the crap. I'm going to get straight into things with the buy-in, and we saw Serpentico taking on K Fletcher, and yeah, to be honest, I wasn't a massive fan of this. You've got such a huge card. A K Fletcher squash match just really wasn't needed. He ran through Serpentico. Fletcher shined, but how much of this was the biggest feat was when his last Ring of Honor match is another matter. So yeah, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. Yeah, just kind of felt a bit unneeded. We then got a four-way tag team match. The House of Black taking on O'Reilly and Ishi, Roderick Strong and Game King, Private Party. It's an action-packed bout that saw some hard-hitting and strikes from Ishi, O'Reilly, Strong and Kid, while Isaiah Cassidy, Mark Quinn brought the high flying to the table. In the end, Black and King secured the win off a Gonze bomb from the latter to Cassidy. The right team, one of only two legitimate tendons in contest, went over here undoubtedly. And yeah, it's kind of continued a bounce-back year for the House of Black. And I thought this was a fun match to put on the pre-show. And yeah, hopefully it means that House of Black will get an opportunity at tag title soon or something like that. Because yeah, I thought it was pretty decent. 7 out of 10. We then got Willow Nightingale and Tamina taking on Chris Statlander and Momo Watanabe. Two rivalries across two different promotions were at play on Saturday night during this match. And yeah, definitely the New Japan stars showcased theirs to the new audience. What started as a slow match was an audience that found it difficult to invest early, evolved into an excellent tag match that highlighted Statlander and purposely kept her and Nightingale out of each other's way ahead of Wednesday's Owen Hart Foundation Women's Tournament semi-final between the former friends. Nakano and Watanabe stood out too, with in-ring action that lightly won over the fans who were previously unfamiliar with their work. They previously won the match for the babyfaces with a hammerlock German suplex, and yeah, like I said, I thought it was a decent match, kind of combined two feuds, which was nice. The crowd got more into it as the match went on, which is a lot, so yeah, I'll give it 6 out of 10. We then got Mariah May versus Sera in an Owen Hart Cup semi-final match, and it was Mariah May who advanced the semis, defeating Sera, seconded by Tony Storm, who kept Hardy Cameron for interfering. May out-wrestled her opponent to get the win. A solid match that highlighted May's growth as an in-ring performer and an on-screen presence that did its job while also shining a light on the tournament. A little post-match hype for Storm, hotly anticipated title defense against Marina Shirakawa, of course, on the main card. Definitely kind of topped it all off. So yeah, get 6 out of 10 from me. Next up, the Lucha Libre Dream Team of Mystico and the Lucha Bros earned a victory over Los Ingles no Japons, Yossi Tuji, Titan and Takahashi in another hard-fought match. The heels isolated Mystico at one point, and the villain Takahashi attempted to unmask him, but the babyfaces fought back and wowed the fans in Long Island with their dazzling high-flying offense. Ultimately, it was Mystico who took Tyson down and tapped him out with an armbar for the win. The match was a perfect tone setter for the main show. The pre-show could have been limited to just a Mariah and Shirai match, and it would have been equally successful. Instead, the 0 hour, like the main show, had a lot of action on it, but I think on the whole it was mostly solid action. Definitely got us hyped up the card, even if we already felt like we saw quite a lot by that point, but I'll give it 7 out of 10. Moving on into the main card, we got Sera against MJF, and Sera proved Sunday night he's more than a poorly drawn cartoon character, targeting the injured shoulder of MJF in the opening match at Forbidden Door. MJF found himself on the defensive and often in a contest and was forced to fight from underneath against a man he seriously overlooked. The result was showcased when Sera to an audience that may have been unfamiliar with his work, with the positioning the Wolf of Wrestling as a clear babyface. MJF ultimately did fight back and levelled Sera with a brainbuster that would make Tully Blanchard smile for a grueling victory, but I thought this was really good, giving MJF a really hard fought victory in the process, while also making Sera look good, and I think he definitely benefited from that, because yeah, I think he shined more than maybe people would have expected in this match, but I thought it was really good. 7 out of 10. We then got the Acclaimed and Tanahashi against the Young Bucks and Okada, and the Young Bucks and Okada got one over the Acclaimed in their ongoing rivalry. The Bucks antics, including the use of headsets to tune out the jeers directed at them, took attention away from the match, which was a pretty good one. The heat was less directed at heels, more at the guy who does not even work for the company anymore. Still, the fans in Long Island came alive between the interaction for Tanahashi and Okada, which was teased. Ultimately, Okada earned a win for his team, rocking Tanahashi with the Rainmaker. Post-match beatdown of the iconic Daddy Ass Billy Gunn rushed the ring and chased the heels out. It didn't do nothing for the Tanahashi, but go daddy ass, I suppose. So yeah, I'll give it 7 out of 10. Bit of a weird ending, but I thought the match was quite good. The stare down between Okada and Tanahashi was a great moment. On the whole, I quite enjoyed it. 7 out of 10. Before we got Bryan Danielson against Takagi in the Owen Hart tournament match, and Danielson's journey back to the top will continue, defeating Takagi in the best match of the night up to that point. A grueling battle between two men who beat the hell out of each other to advance. Danielson nursed his neck injury in the match with Will Ospreay earlier this year. Takagi exploited and appeared to be on his way to victory. The former world champion though showed a resiliency that has defined throughout his career, fending off the challenge of his opponents and eventually earning a victory with an armbar submission. Danielson's climb back into title contention is going to be epic, with the likes of Swerve, MJF and Ospreay in the picture, and yeah, the potential match there are extraordinary, especially as we kind of enter the end of Danielson's full-time run. 8 out of 10. Before we got Shirakawa versus Storm for the Women's Championship, and it was probably the toughest test of Storm's reign, and she just about escaped with the gold. Storm found herself on the defensive more often than not as she nursed a knee injury that resulted from a targeted attack by the challenger. Shirakawa pushed her to the brink, delivering a diving DDT from the top rope and trying her glamorous driver. The champion fought out of it, survived, and eventually delivered Storm Zero for the pinfall win. Afterwards, she showed initial reluctance before showing respect for Shirakawa with a handshake. The hug followed a three-way kiss and put an explanation point on the proceedings. It was really well done from the match itself to the storytelling around it. Mariah May was the centrepiece of the street between the competitors. Watching ringside, never got involved, a bit like Miss Elizabeth at WrestleMania, of course, and her facial expressions and body language were really good and added to the already solid in-ring action. For a company that does not always nail the landing with higher quality stories, I thought the execution was perfect on top of a really good match. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm going to give it 7 out of 10. Next up on the card, we got Orange Cassidy against Zack Saber Jr. and the Zama's spiral for OC continued as he lost another match. This defeat came in a technical wrestling clinic though, which saw each competitor counter and reverse everything the other threw at them. Cassidy, not nearly level on the level of Saber, still managed to surprise as he nearly stole a pin on multiple occasions. Eventually he found himself outmatched by a master of the mat as Saber tried him out like a pretzel with no choice but to submit. Cassidy sat dejectedly after the bell and coupled with the black t-shirt and the return of the Pixies' Where Is My Mendiant song serves as another indication that we're preparing to witness a different freshly squeezed than we have at any point in AEW. I'm definitely intrigued to see where that goes. And on top of that, just a really good match as well. Big win for Zack, obviously doing great stuff in New Japan, and that Cassidy storyline's really intriguing. 8 out of 10. We then got Samoa Joe, Shibata and Hook against Jericho, Big Bill and Cobb. And yeah, May Sunday represent a conclusion of the learning tree gimmick that isn't working, as there was chance to please retire and fans fed up with this stale gimmick. The heel fell victim to his own Judas Effect finisher from Hook, who pinned him to win a big trios match that pitted the second gen star with Jericho and Shibata against Big Bill and of course New Japan's Jeff Cobb. The match was perfectly acceptable for professional wrestling, but the crowd was relatively quiet except for taunting Chris. The right team went over, the right star was pinned, and much like Show's production did, we shall move on rather promptly because yeah, this wasn't very good. 6 out of 10. But moving on into the ladder match to crown the TNT champion, and Jack Perry predictably won the match, overcoming the opposition of driven, determined competitors to win his first recognised single title in the promotion. The spots were death-defying in scenarios and awe-inspiring in others, and there was great selling and had viewers questioning the legitimacy of their injuries. The commentary team paying over Martin's dubious history in ladder matches, including a stomach-churning injury suffered a similar one a year ago, added to the element of danger at play. Perry winning the match by taking out Briscoe was a solid booking decision in that the babyface is beloved, and if you're going to try and get the scapegoat some legitimate heat, that's the way to do it. There's an argument to be made that Takeshita's match to win, but there's nothing about his inconsistent booking that suggests he would have been treated any better simply because he had a belt in a company brewing with them. So yeah, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. I think it's probably the right result for the story. It's quite a fun ladder match, obviously got some decent spots in there. I think, you know, for the context of the story, the right man probably went over too, so I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Mercedes Moné is now Mercedes 2 belts following a hard-fought victory over Stephanie Vaca. The TBS champion added a New Japan Strong Women's Championship to her resume, overcoming what was the longest time a one-sided beatdown at the hands of her opponent, ultimately tapping her out of the bank statement. Vaca impressed here and had fans in Long Island on her side as she set the tone for the match and outclassed Moné for the majority of the bout. As is the case though from nearly every situation, it takes but a second for the tide to turn, and even less for the end of a title reign to come about, and this was no difference. After the match, Britt Baker made her long-awaited return with a stare down with Mercedes Moné, setting up an all-in matchup, which is going to have such a big story behind it. And yeah, so pleased Britt Baker's back. I thought it was a really good match, and I only added with that segment at the end. So glad to see Britt Baker back and feuding with Mercedes Moné. Yeah, what a match that's going to be. 8 out of 10. Before it's time for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship match between Mox and Naito. Naito returned the good graces of New Japan, defeating Mox to regain their championship. The match was odd, never really felt like it hit the next gear. Mox targeted his opponent's knees early on, but Naito never sold them beyond that moment. From there, Mox sold frustration and inability to put Naito away, but the challenger never worked with the sort of urgency you would expect from a competitor fighting for the honour of the company's top prize. There will be some who kind of didn't enjoy it, but I feel so on the whole it was a decent match. The story of Naito getting New Japan their belt back obviously made sense. I thought it was a pretty decent match and probably has the level to go a bit higher if there is another match between these two, which obviously is what the first match should set out to do. So yeah, I still enjoyed it. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Moving on into Swerve against Ospreay, and Will Ospreay's moral dilemma cost him the World Championship. Late in the contest, Don Callis presented him with a screwdriver to use on Swerve, a weapon that almost would have certainly given his title. He chose not to use it, also resisting using his devastating Tiger Dry T9 finisher, and that led to a disappointing conclusion to his pursuit of the top prize. The company, as Swerve capitalised, ramped up the intensity of his attack and put the number one contender away with a house call. It felt like a big match situation, a red hot crowd whose allegiances split evenly between the competitors. The commentary team was as good as it was all night. The performers utilised facial expressions and body language to get their emotions across to the viewer, and the screwy finish involving Don Callis made sense and hopefully brought the end of his relationship with the aerial assassin. On another night that featured the continued excellence from Danielson, this felt like the best match, a battle between the two top babyfaces in the company, and many will be trusted after Daniel Bryan puts his boots up on his full-time run. But I thought this was a really good match. Going to leave the door open for another match potentially between two of the top wrestlers in AEW, and obviously got Don Callis feud going on there. So I thought this all worked really nicely and was a brilliant main event. 8 out of 10 from me. Overall, Forbidden Door gets an 8 out of 10 from me. Yeah, this was another really good pay-per-view card. Some brilliant matches. On the whole, I thought, yeah, a really fun card. Ospreay v Swerve stole the show. Danielson put on a great match. Great to see Britt Baker back, setting up that view room. Maybe the time could be a bit long. There was lots of matches on there, but I thought the action we got on the card was really, really solid. 8 out of 10. Hey guys, that's it for this video. Thanks very much for watching. Remember to like, share, subscribe. Follow us on our socials. Link in the description below for daily wrestling news, meme and content. Subscribe to our other channels on screen right now. That'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace out.